This here is an updated version of the Stormloft Down Topquilt from Outdoor Vitals.
And this is the old version of the Stormloft Down Topquilt.
From the outside, they might not look too much different, but what's really changed is what is on the inside of these. Let's set the stage real quick. When you're out backpacking, there's a high probability that your sleeping bag or quilt is going to get some sort of moisture in it. Whether it's from your breathing inside of your tent, the condensation, it might drag against the side of the tent, or maybe it rains. At some point, your bag is going to get wet. Now, a lot of down sleeping bags and quilts have a DWR finish on them that helps to repel some water, but over time that wears off, and it's actually a pretty extensive process to wash off the natural water repellent that's on down in order to add on the DWR. Now, the old version has DWR in it, whereas this new version has something completely different. What's changed inside of the updated version is they've added gold particles that somehow interacts with water to help vaporize it and get it out of the down faster than DWR does. Now, if you're doing just an overnight, that might not be too big of a deal, because even if this is wet, you're going home, you can dry stuff out. There's nothing to worry about there. But if you're out for multiple days, that's where things get a little iffy, because it takes longer for this to dry out than it does this. So the whole idea with this, with the gold particles in there, is that the down in this dries out faster from night to night, so that you maintain your loft in the quilt longer, you stay warmer, and it just holds up better. Because remember, the more moisture that stays in your gear, the faster mold starts to build up and breaks everything down. So you want to get that moisture out as fast as possible.
And if you're backpacking in Washington, you don't get bluebird sky days like this very often. So you can't depend on the sun to dry out your stuff on a multi-day trip.
And we've had decent weather, but it's still been cold. So you're getting big temperature swings, which actually increases condensation, and you're more likely to get more moisture inside of your stuff at night because of that. So a couple nights ago, we were sleeping in 24-degree weather. This actually by morning was pretty dry. This one, when I stuffed it into the stuff sack, you could feel some of the moisture. Last night was a little bit warmer. I think the low was 38, and we had less moisture in the tent. We had less moisture in this. So that down has more time to dry out, which is what you want for these longer stays, longer durations when you're out on the trail. And then we have another night tonight. I think it's supposed to be a little bit warmer as well. So that is the main difference between these two quilts. And if you have this and you're fine with that, or you're in an area that doesn't have too much moisture, or maybe if you'll only do overnighters and you don't care about multi-day backpacking trips, then there's probably not much reason to upgrade to this just for the quicker drying. But if you do more overnighters, then it's definitely worth taking a look at to this. Now, there are other differences with these as well that I actually really like. The first one being the foot boxes here. Now, my one complaint about this one was that I felt kind of tight in the foot box, and they've actually expanded the foot box a little bit. It's not much, but it's definitely noticeable when I'm sleeping, so that I have room, because I like to curl up sometimes, I like to straighten out. I have more room inside of the quilt to expand. With that one, I felt tighter. Now, this is your first time ever using a quilt. Did you feel like this was too tight for you?
I did feel like it was a little restrictive. I like to move around. Yeah,
so that's where I really like the foot box on this. The other big difference that they've changed is the direction of the baffles. So on the updated version, they did horizontal baffles in the area that covers more of your core, whereas as you can see here on the older version, they have more vertical baffles. So when the down starts moving, it can start moving down and away from your core area, whereas the horizontal baffles, that's keeping that loft closer to your core, and it's wrapping more around you. So this actually will keep you warmer than this because of the way the baffles are laid out. What Sarah noticed on the inside of these is the colors are different, which I don't care, but she does. These are both 15-degree bags, and as you can see, this coloring is a little bit different than that coloring.
It's not a huge difference.
I don't care. She cares. to each their own. What is different is the taper design. This has more of a sloped angle, so it kind of wraps like this instead of going straight across, whereas this one is a little bit more straight across at the top, like that. And then the angles of this, they angled these a little bit different as well. I do believe when this is open, it's slightly wider than this, but this covers more of your body, or it hugs more around your body because of the new taper at the top. And then one other feature that they changed, which I never really complained about or noticed, is this part where you cinch down so that you're closing off any space here. They added these little tabs that you can slide this through. There's 2 tabs so that it's out of your face. That was never really a problem for me, but maybe for some people that irritates them, and now there's a way for that to get out of the way. Whereas this one, that just pulls, there's no tabs to stick it to, and some people were complaining that this was smacking them in the face.
Not only that, but I noticed this does get pretty cold at night because it is plastic. So that's another annoying thing, is if it's like whacking you in the face anywhere near exposed skin, then you might feel some cold from this. That doesn't always feel great when you're trying to get warm at night.
So this right here was my first quilt that I've ever had, or that I've ever bought and used. I've tried other quilts and I haven't really liked a lot of them because they're open all the way through. I like that the footbed is closed off, because on other quilts that I've tested, you get drafts coming up through the feet, and then that goes all the way through your body, and I didn't like that. This closes off the bottom, so you're not getting a draft coming up from your feet when you're moving your feet around, and I just feel like it holds you in the quilt longer and more secure. I run pretty warm, but in Washington, it usually stays decently cold around here, which is why we went with the 15-degree bags. But the reason I prefer one of these quilts over just unzipping a sleeping bag is because when you unzip a sleeping bag, that's on one side, and any drafts that happen throughout the night is coming in from one side, and it just wakes you up. I don't like it. Whereas with the quilt, you're able to lose some of that body heat through the back without getting all these major drafts. So you can open this up and it's still covering around you, but you're able to get some of that body heat out. So in the summertime especially, this has been really nice to feel comfortable at night, but not feel so restricted like you would in a sleeping bag.
But on the flip side, for someone that sleeps extremely cold, I'm always trying to get warm, and I was really leery about trying out a quilt because why would I want to lose body heat? But you know what? When you have an insulating sleeping pad like we do, it makes all the difference in the world. I was so toasty and warm using this, and you would think that you would be losing a lot of heat through here, but I didn't at all because I was insulated by the sleeping pad. So it's like the perfect mummy without being in an actual sleeping bag. It's great.
Yeah, last night you were almost too warm. Whereas the night before, when it was 24 degrees, she was a little bit cold. I was perfect. So for someone that sleeps cold and someone that sleeps warm, 15 degrees for me, probably pretty accurate on what I could handle on this. 15 degrees for her, she'd be probably a little bit colder. So for her, 25, maybe 30 degrees would be the limit. 38 degrees was too warm. So just know there are variances with how your body is and what the degree rating of the bag is for what your comfort level is.
That was also a different sleeping pad too.
That was not an insulated sleeping pad.
Yeah, it was not. So it just goes to show you have to have your full setup in mind when you're purchasing products for what you need.
If you are interested in getting one of the Stormloft Down Topquilts, there are links down in the description below. It does help the channel out without costing you anything extra. And if you do have one of these quilts, let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you liking the new design? Are you liking the horizontal baffles and the wider footbox? Or are a lot of these updates stuff that you don't really care about? So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one. It's probably hard to tell on camera, but the old version definitely feels slightly damp, and then the new version doesn't feel damp at all. Also, I don't know if you can tell, the Loft Looks a lot different too. So that's what you're hoping for, is to maintain that loft so that you're nice and warm throughout the night. And I was toasty. I'm not sure about Sarah. So before this trip, Sarah wasn't that excited to try out a quilt because she likes sleeping bags. But did we convert you? Are you a quilt person now, or what do you think?
Yeah, I probably still won't get it down to the rating of 15, but even down at 38, I stayed really warm the entire time, so I'm happy.
Nice. And that's with the old version. So both of these quilts are really good quilts. I really do like the horizontal baffles that they added on the updated version. I'm not really sure why they didn't do that on the old version, but they've changed it. So if you are interested in getting one of these quilts, there are links down in the description below.